Am I in the frame?
Man, y'all know the face, y'all know the name. Y'all tuned into the world's realest podcast, Talk Ain't Cheap podcast, hosted by yours truly, Mr. Samui Clears Real Talk. And in traditional Talk Ain't Cheap fashion, y'all know how this go. I do not introduce my guest. I feel like I don't do a good job of that. My guests be real immaculate, so it's hard for me just to say, "Oh, this is my guest." Nah, they gotta introduce themselves. So, guest, please introduce yourself.
How y'all doing? My name is Tyrell. I previously went to Canisius College, graduated with my master's from Madai, and now I am an Airbnb and TURO host along with my partner Brianna Mozak, and we're doing big things over here. We're doing great things over here. I'm blessed. I'm also a practice player for the New York Liberty. I'm still keeping basketball in my regime and just trying to be my best self.
So, usually I have a question about where I want to start, but I guess for you, my first question is, what role has basketball played in your life? Like, what made you the basketball player you are today?
Well, my first sport was actually soccer. My dad, he's from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that was his sport. Like in St. Vincent, their main sports are soccer and cricket. My dad, he also ran track, so he really wanted me to play soccer. And then around sixth grade, I grew to like 6'1", and like I was just towering over all of my classmates. So after that, like also we regularly grew up in church, but my church was very unique because I had a basketball gym in there. So my dad, he was always involved in ministry, always involved with, like doing a whole bunch of things in church. Like he wrote plays, he cooked. So I was at church almost like twice or three times a week. And while waiting for him, I would just go in the gym, shoot around. And that's when I really, started falling in love with the game. And then one summer, I just decided to lock in. We got a skills coach, and I would go there 6 a.m. every morning, just working on my game. And at one point, I always had the skill, but not the confidence. And then one summer, I went to St. Bonaventure for their camp, and like they forced me to be like the number one option or the best player. They gave me that responsibility, and that's when I got a taste of what that responsibility felt like. And from that point on, I never looked back. I came back with more confidence, had a great junior year, great senior year we went undefeated, and we played in like 3 different leagues. We were top 15 in the city. And then I got my look from Canisius, and then went to Canisius to play basketball. So that's really been like my basketball journey. After COVID hit, like my whole athletic career just took a shift because I started doing cycling, MBR cycling. And I would have never thought I would get into cycling, but it turned into this big movement in New York City. And I met thousands and thousands of people. Got on the news, got a lot of public recognition from it. And then now I'm at a point where I've kind of repurposed basketball, and now I'm working with the New York Liberty to, better their players, which I am very excited to be doing because, they're number one in the WNBA and the favorites to win the WNBA championship. So I think like I've reformed my passion for basketball and have now used it to better others in ways that I would have never thought.
Now, that's awesome. So, you do a lot of different things and you wear a lot of different hats. Did you ever think that this would be the life that you're living right now? No, actually. I knew I had big dreams, and I always wanted to strive for my best self. And I knew my best self would come with a lot of, personal success. But how, I may not have really had a good grasp of how I was going to do that. But I knew that one day I would find out because I know how I am when I am passionate about something. And then I met Brianna, and she told me like, hey, like, here's this platform. Sorry about that. Here's this platform. We put our house, we put our car on it, and there's people out there who really are looking for a place to stay, a place to, temporarily stay, and cars to drive.
So she kind of opened my eyes to that market, and me having already trying a couple of businesses at that point, I know a good business model and idea when I see one, just due to many failed attempts. And it's something that just piqued my interest after that. And I studied behind her for months. And now I am adding to what is now our portfolio of several cars and several properties.
So you say you tried entrepreneurship at an earlier point in your life. What
Yes.
was some of those entrepreneurship journeys that you had, and what were you doing, and what were the failures that came with those things that helped you become who you are today?
Oh, man. Well, you know, a couple of them. Well, really one of them. And I wouldn't say most of them were failures. I think most of them, like, their time passed. Like, they were great for their time. Like being a part of Rage, with Yusuf and Bobby, Mike, KO, Ego, Dooley. I could list all of them, but
Shout out to Rage,
shout
man.
out to all of them, man. Those are my brothers. Said E, all of them. And like that was that was great for college, you know. But once college was done, once COVID hit, it kind of, you know, passed on. Um, I did a fish fry. I tried going into the food industry with Dooley. Those were great times when we did like fish fry every Friday. And then I had my MBR business, where we successfully, you know, grew it to 10K followers. We were able to bring in about 30K, just off of donations, and really be one of those driving factors in the BLM movement here in New York, and be one of those driving factors in the cycling community in New York, and being the middle ground where we could bring both of those different groups together, and really transform what protesting in New York looks like. So all of the, and then, you know, once COVID kind of died down, people started going back to work. When we did the cycling stuff, no one had anything to do at the time, and cycling was the only FDA approved activity anyone could do. It was that and running, because you could do that on your own. You could do that with a mask. You could be 6 feet from people, and we were on the streets every day, just, you know, going against, you know, societal norms for Black lives, which was very powerful in its time, and that's why it kind of grew as, you know, dramatically as it did. So, like I said, once COVID started dying down, everybody started going to work, everybody's obligations came back, and cycling kind of died down over time. Still, it's still its own great community right now, but, you know, the people who may have been willing to do it when they had nothing better to do may not be as willing to do it when they have other things and other obligations to do. So that has kind of died down, and now I'm on to this adventure right now, which seems absolutely promising. And I think I've been able to combine all the skills that I've used in the past, from a marketing standpoint, outreach standpoint, crowd control standpoint, personal, like being personable standpoint, and really, or even a finance standpoint with my finance degree, just really combining everything, and, you know, learning from my mistakes, and still learning even to this day, and taking those skills and really applying it to what I have going on right now.
So let's talk about the TURO and Airbnb business, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
So how, like, obviously you said that you got started because your girlfriend introduced your partner introduced these platforms to you. When you first saw these platforms and you saw that they were promising, what was the first step you took to start developing yourself to be able to now navigate the business of TURO and Airbnb?
Well, first thing I did was watch. And I more so, Brianna, she does a really good job of sharing information with me. And she's very clear, very concise. I call her Miss Make Sure. She's always making sure. Even to this day, she still makes sure. And sometimes I'm like, it's not that serious. But, you know, I appreciate her a lot for, you know, still staying on my ass. But just watching, and you know, if there is a problem, because not only am I learning from Brianna, like she's also learning on her own scale as well. She may have a lot more knowledge than I do at the time, but she's also still learning. So we're sort of learning things together, combing through things out together. She asks for my opinion. I give her, my viewpoint of certain situations, which kind of helped me kind of figure things out as well. And she makes the decision that she feels is best, for her moving forward. I think consulting me with certain things, or asking my opinion on what I think of certain situations, it kind of placed me in the shoes of being in the situation, even though technically at times I really wasn't. But really the experience of watching Brianna go through those things and being there like side by side with her, I learned a lot through that. I learned the platforms because she would walk me through the platforms. If I had questions, I would ask her, and she would. Most of the questions I didn't even get to asking her because she probably already told me by then. But like she really walked me and guided me into this industry, and planted the seeds that we're now sowing from, and yeah, really just through the experience that really guided me into the industry, and a lot of the experience I couldn't have experienced on my own going into this, but luckily I had Brianna there to learn from and help guide me through her experiences. And now there's no experience that I feel like we haven't seen, which is why we've been able to now, branch out of state and now internationally.
So let's focus on Toro for now. Currently, how many cars is in your fleet?
Currently in our fleet, we have, so we have one Cybertruck. We have,
shout out to the Cybertruck. That's major, bro.
Shout out to
that
the
green Cybertruck is crazy.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. But we have one Cybertruck. We have 3 Audi Q3s. We have 1 Dodge Challenger. We have an Audi S5, and we have a Jeep Grand Cherokee. So my fault. I counted by brand, but what is that? 1, 4. So we have about 8.
Okay.
8, right? And like I said, we've acquired a lot in the last 30 days, and we're still moving at that same pace. So by next week, it could possibly even be 10.
Awesome.
Earlier today, I was on the phone with someone with an S4. Hopefully that goes through. Like Audis have been really good in New York City. And then I have another call with someone with a Mercedes-Benz GLE AMG. I forget what specific number it is, but when you're dealing with so much people, you kind of get lost with the specific makes and models. But those are 2 potential ones. I know Brianna, she's in talks with someone with a Honda, and we've been trying to actually get some more economy cars on our fleet as well. So that'll be very big for us. And like I said, like at the rate we're moving, we could have our goal is 20 by the end of the year. So granted, if we get it or not, if that's the number we're shooting for and we fall short, we're going to be like in a way better position than we're even in right now. So that's what we're shooting for.
So let's say someone wants to partner with you when it comes to their car. How does a partnership go? Like, what do you have to do for the partnership to work? Like, do you have to bring the car to you? Do you have to expect, what is the process like to partner with you for Turo?
So every partnership is different. And it varies. Like we've had partners here in New York. We've had partners from DC, and Jersey. We've had each partnership varies. So if they can drop it off, obviously that's great. But if they can't, we would go and pick it up. So we've traveled to Jersey to pick up cars. We've traveled to DC to pick up cars, and also with the platform, there's different profit splits. Some people are better at negotiating than others, and those are the people that, it's fun negotiating with them. Like, for example, we work on a revenue share based system. So whatever revenue we bring in, we typically do a 70-30 split. But there's some people who may argue, 25-75. And then also, not only is there a split with us, there's a split with Turo. And that is another key factor to vary. So, like, for example, we have a partner where it's a 80-20 split with Turo, and then whatever the payout is a 7-30 split with us. But for example, with the person I'm doing the Cybertruck with, they're doing a 90-10 split with Turo, and then they're doing a 75-25 split with us. And
so when you said 90-10 split, is it Toro taking 90% or?
We're taking 90%.
Okay, and Toro takes 10%.
Yeah, and the way the Toro split works, it's their profit split or revenue split goes hand in hand with their insurance. So basically, the larger you take on your payout, the higher your deductible is on your insurance. So if you're taking out 90, then your deductible is $2,500. If you're taking 80, your deductible is $600 or $750, $650 or $750, one of the two. And then if you're taking 75, it's $250. And then if it goes all the way down to 60, then you're fully covered. So there's no deductible at all. So obviously, if you're taking more profit, you would have to cover the higher deductible. But if you're taking less profit, then you're fully covered. So some people, like, for example, the Cybertruck owner, his name is Realest, he could afford to pay the $200, the $2,500 deductible. So he wants the 90-10 profit split. And then he said, okay, he negotiated, since I'm taking the higher financial risk with the deductible, can we do 75-25? And, after doing the numbers, it was a great bargain, especially not only for getting the Cybertruck, but potentially what the Cybertruck could even bring in. So he did a great job of negotiating, and it was an agreement that worked for both parties. And but generally speaking, we do like a 70-30 split, and we suggest doing the 75-25 plan with Turo or the 80-20 plan with Turo. We see like that's the most comfort spot for people in terms of insurance coverage, payouts, and that's generally what we do our market analysis numbers around.
Okay, cool. And if somebody wanted to get started with Turo, how would you advise them to go about getting cars?
So we, like I mentioned earlier, we see that the economy cars generally do better. Now, granted, the nicer cars do go out at a daily rate a lot higher per se. So like the Cybertruck is on the platform for like $400 a day, and the Jeep Grand Cherokee is a little under $100 a day. And so like obviously the Jeep Grand Cherokee gets booked out like way more than the Cybertruck. But if the Cybertruck was to get booked as much as the Jeep Grand Cherokee, then it's like, okay, great. But sometimes it's better to have the economy car get booked out 25 to 30 days out of the month, rather than the more exotic car get rented out probably like a week out of the month. So if you're just starting, I would more so recommend economy cars or high or mid-tier cars, like Volkswagens, Audis, Volvos, Lexuses. Those are really good cars. Generally speaking, and it's good for like the urban market, that city look, that inner city look.
How would you go about actually acquiring a car? Like, if you ain't got no bread, you're broke. How do you go about actually getting a car?
So I actually got my car with no money.
Sheesh. Tell the people, man.
When I got my job, I was quitting my job. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that was the last favor my last job gave me. So I'd use that proof of a job to get that car, but I went through Carvana, and I put a zero down payment on the car. I chose my Dodge Challenger with a zero down payment, and once I had showed them my proof of employment, they approved me right there and then. Proof of employment, proof of insurance, and proof of address, I believe. By the next week, the car was there. So you can definitely get a car with zero money down, as long as you have those things along on the side, like proof of employment, proof of insurance, proof of address. And yeah, it is that simple, but I do recommend you doing your research. You don't want to just get any car. You don't want to get a car with a high interest rate, especially if you're going to finance it. If you're going to pay for it in full, then, fine, so be it. Everything that comes in from that point on is strictly revenue minus what you have to pay for like insurance. But if you're going to take out a loan for a car, definitely do your research. Get the best possible interest rate that you can on the loan, and calculate the market and see how much the car is going for, and do your calculations based off of the floor of the market. So normally there's a range of how many days the car could get booked at what price. Do your calculations based off of the floor to middle. Never make your assumptions don't make your decisions off of the high. Don't go in there with high expectations. You rather your expectations be exceeded than, missed. So, yeah, make sure you're not trapped in a loan that you can't pay off. Make sure that the market is suitable for the car that you're looking for. And definitely, if all those things align, then you could pull the trigger. That's what I did for my car. And I was the first to finance, and that's the beauty in the partnership with Brianna and I. We sort of push each other in different ways. So once I got my Challenger, she was encouraged to get her Audi, and her Audi's been doing amazing. My Challenger's been doing well too, but Audis are just like in a different tier in New York City. Like I guess it's New York City's favorite car. So she's doing really well with that. And yeah, that's really, the key with, finding that car. Like you can get a car zero money down, but make sure it's the right deal. And more likely than not, your monthly payments will be a lot less if it's not zero down. So if you could put some money into it, definitely do so. But it's not impossible to get a car with zero money down.
That's good to know, because I know a lot of people who maybe listen to this, they'll be like, I ain't got no bread, I'm in between jobs, like how can I start off, getting a car in Turo so I can start making some bread. So I do have a question about how do you manage a fleet, because it's 8 cars, 9 cars, going to be 10 cars. How do you get, and let's say you have like 2 cars that need to get booked out on the same day, or 3 cars on the same day. Yeah. How do you go about making sure that you get the cars to them, and then how do you make sure that like people don't steal your car or damage your car?
Okay, so well, one thing that helps is that Rihanna and I are a team, so like we have each other's back. But if you're by yourself, definitely I would say it's very manageable to have multiple cars. The only time having multiple cars will become difficult is if you have to deliver multiple cars at the same time. That's when things become choppy, because you're only one person, right? And if 2 cars gets booked for delivery at 9, then you could only do 1. But generally speaking, people more so pick up the car at the pickup location. So it's more so just getting the cars ready. We have the check-in process fully automated. And so, people come, we get the car ready. We make sure it has gas. We make sure it's clean. We have it parked where it is. We give them their check-in instructions, and, they pretty much, handle checking in and getting the car keys on their own. Same with the checkout process. When they bring the car back, they go through our instructed checkout process. So generally speaking, it could be very manageable. You just have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence in preparing the car, making sure it has gas, making sure it's clean, and making sure you're taking before photos. Make sure you're taking really detailed before photos, because that's what Turo goes off of for their insurance, the condition of the car prior to the reservation, and then make sure you're taking your photos after the reservation. So Turo also knows the condition of the car after the reservation. But other than that, like it's pretty much like if you are on your own, you could do it for probably about 5 cars. And if they're not swarming you with deliveries, granted you get paid for the deliveries, so it's like, you'll figure it out if you really need to. But in terms of it being manageable, like you could do about 5 cars. And if they're 5 like economy cars, like some cars will keep you more busy than others. So yeah, generally speaking, I'd say like it's pretty manageable. But once you get to a certain point, you do want to look for someone to help you, or possibly have a garage, or just like you could set it up where there's no deliveries, and everybody has to come pick up the car, which takes out the hassle of worrying about having a delivery in Queens and then one in Manhattan at the same time.
Yeah, because that's where I'm concerned. It's like, how do you go and get these cars from these different locations to these different people, then getting back to your location, and let's say someone else need a car, and it's New York City, like between traffic or taking a cab or between taking a subway, like you are moving around. So
right.
like, do you just organize your time in a certain type of way, or what?
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
Yeah, you absolutely have to organize your time. Like this morning, Brianna, she was up at like 4 a.m. trying to, get a car up, I think, the Upper East Side or Upper West Side. You just have to really manage your time. But the thing is, it's not as time consuming. It's just that the time can vary. Like the whole process of getting the car ready, checking it in, and if you have to deliver it, only takes about like hour and a half, most cases, from the time you start, getting the car ready and handing the keys off to the person that you're renting it to. And then, you find your way back home, however you see fit. If you want to pocket that delivery fee, you hop on the train. If you're just like exhausted, you have $120 for an Uber, if anything. And then you just have to be ready for when you have to pick the car back up. So yeah, and if you're with someone, you could have both of you guys drive a car there, 2 of you guys drive each car back, or vice versa. 2 of y'all drop it off and then drive a car back. So there's ways around it. And generally speaking, like the most of the work is just preparation, and then checking it after you get the car back, which is generally about it could range from 30 minutes a day. Sometimes it could be 3 hours a day, but generally speaking, that's way better than a 8-hour shift.
So this is real passive. For those who are listening, this is relatively really passive. Okay, cool. So is your goal to do Turo like long term, or is it something that you're doing as a means to an end?
So it's definitely something I would like to do long term. Definitely would love to eventually get to a point where we can make things private, and have our own lot. So it's kind of like we have a designated, pickup drop off location, and we don't have to rely on a third party platform for exposure. We have like our own niche of people who could book directly through us, and also having people manage it for us, so we don't necessarily have to be there on foot, and turning it into like a hands-off business eventually. That would be great for both the cars and the properties. But that's generally the direction we would love to go. And I know that we have entrepreneurial spirit. So I feel like even if it gets to a point where these things are running itself, like we'll find our next venture. to kind of explore and get, a business running for that. Like, I know Brianna, she loves lobster, so I know she's
She expensive.
she gonna start talking about let's do this restaurant, probably in St. Vincent or in Miami. Like, I know she wants her own restaurant. She also wants her own boutique hotel.
Okay.
She dreams. Well, I wouldn't say dream, because I don't think there's anything that she wanted to do that she hasn't done. She's a big goal setter. Like, she has very big goals and aspirations. So that continues to inspire me to think big. And yeah, like, she wants all of those things, and I know she will get those things in due time, whether it's from me or on her own. But like, yeah, like, we have entrepreneurial spirit, and we're gonna continue to, like, contribute to the growth, whether if it's the economy or our portfolio or any way, shape, and form. We just want to put ourselves in position to help more people. That's really what it comes down to.
Very dope. What platforms do you use to manage your Toro business? Like, is there any like software that you use, or is there anything that you do that helps make the business run smoother and easier?
So Turo does a really good job of including automations on their platform. So we more so use Turo, like, directly. They've included the automation side of things, so it's pretty smooth. Communication is smooth, and generally we know the questions that we're gonna get asked at this point, so we kind of tailor the automations to beat people to those questions, so they have less questions. But there's no really need for a third-party monitoring app in comparison to, like, the Airbnbs, because there's more platforms that we generally use for Airbnbs and, Booking.com, Vrbo, all those things. But Turo, we've just been doing really well on Turo, so there's no reason for any outside automation or help with that.
And I don't know if you can answer this, but how much have you made per month off of Toro thus far?
Per month off of all the cars, what would that number be? I would say, I gotta check in with RZA. So we just hired our own CFO, RZA. So she's really, like, kinking out those numbers. But generally speaking, each car brings in about, 15 to 3,000 a month. So, like, generally speaking, we got like 8 cars now, and like I said, in the past 30 days, we've gotten the most additions that we've ever had. So the numbers for next month are probably gonna look a lot
higher
different
than what it is
than what
now.
it normally is. Like, before, it was just the Challenger, the Audis, or the 2 Audis. That's about it. We had a third Audi, a 2017 Audi Q3. Generally, like, we'd see numbers of about like 9,000 plus per month in total for all the cars, and then obviously, like, a percentage of that 9,000 goes towards the partners that we're partnering with. But we're trying to get to like 30K a month, and now that we've shifted our focus to growing, it's a lot more feasible than we think. And not only that, it could happen a lot more sooner than we expect it to happen. So I would say right now we're probably right under the 10K per month mark just off of Turo alone.
How do you plan on scaling the business?
Just outreach, and finding creative ways to outreach. That's how you stay above it. If you put your mind to a task, your mind figures out a way to get that task done. If you asked me a year ago, how do we reach more people, I'd be like, go to door, probably, ask people on the street. But now, like, we figured out plenty of different ways to reach more people, through, different car marketplaces. Um, as you see, we're posting a lot more now, which is bringing a lot of inbound reach as well. That's working really well for us. And even like door to door, I know I joked about door to door, but door to door still works.
It definitely
It
still works.
still
Yeah.
works, And sometimes, like, for example, um, we're in talks with someone with a BMW M4. He saw Brianna taking photos of the Audi S5 and simply asked her, "What are you doing?" And Brianna told him what we do, and then now he's interested. So, like, some of it can be natural. I say most of it would really be natural. But it can happen in so many different ways. Like, for example, I could be in the front wash of my car, and someone is just like, "Oh, that's a really nice car. What do you do?" Tell them what I do. Then they know someone who has an extra car, and they say, "All right, I'm gonna connect you with that person." Or someone may see a post on social media, they DM us, "Hey, like, I know someone." Or we may do outreach on different marketplaces, people who want to sell their cars, focusing on what is a pain point in the industry. Like, why do people not want their cars? Maybe we can offer them an alternative. And like like places, well, not places, but a lot of people, I think houses are the number one expense, cars are the second, or transportation is the second expense. So there's a lot of money to be made in both of those industries. A lot of people buying cars, a lot of people selling cars. There's a lot of people who don't want to sell their car, but they have to sell their car because they can't afford to sell their car. And those may be the people that we target a little more, or there may be some people who have cars that are just sitting there. They don't want to sell it, but it's like, it's just eating their money. At that point, it's a liability, We're just like, hey, like, let's turn that liability into an asset, and really push this like peer-to-peer world that I feel like we're really gonna eventually wind up living in. And some people are open to it, some people aren't, and that's okay. That's not who we're trying to reach. Putting yourself out there does sometimes get a lot of backlash. Like, some people ask, like, why would we like put our car out there so it could gain miles and depreciate? But we tell them, like, the rate of the monthly income that we're gonna bring you is way higher than the rate that the car will ever depreciate. So if, for example, you have the car at 20,000 miles and it's worth $22,000, and we get it to 30,000 miles and now it's worth $20,000, but we brought you $5,000 in that time span, you've net $3,000. So at the rate, so let's say like you wanted to sell the car even after renting it with us, you've already made $5,000, and you could still sell it for $20,000, which is higher than you just trying to originally sell it for $22,000. So that's the kind of perspective we try to, push for people. There's some people who generally just want to sell their car, and we say, hey, well, we could still have the selling listed up for the car, but in the meantime, you could make money off of it. And if somebody, like, if their main priority is to sell the car, they could at least make money in the meantime till the car is sold. Some people are trying to sell a car in Pennsylvania or at the bottom of Jersey where everyone has a car, But the market for New York, like, there's people who sell cars every day. So, it's just a matter of finding their pain point and, generally trying to help them. I think that really makes a difference. If we let them know, like, hey, we know you really want to sell it, like, yes, that's definitely a priority, but you could do this in the meantime. It's like, yeah, we want to help you, achieve the outcome that you want, but here's another way that you can also do that not only benefits us but benefits you as well. So yeah, most people are very personable. Once someone says they're interested, they have my full attention. And like I said, each partnership is different, And the reason why people put their cars on our fleet, each reason is different. And that's the exciting part about it, because you're constantly learning new reasons why people don't want to deal with certain things. One thing that the Tesla Cybertruck taught me is that no matter if it's a $10,000 car or a $10 million car, I mean Tesla, it's not a $10 million car. Car problems are car problems. If you don't want a car, you don't want a car. If you don't want to manage a car, you don't want to manage a car. If you can't afford a car payment, you can't afford a car payment. No matter if it's, $100 or $10,000. So all the pain points are the same pain points, and you could generally, pitch your services to high-end people or regular working class people. So yeah, like the market has taught us a lot. And I don't even know what we got.
Nah, you talking your shit, bro. You doing a great job. I'm learning a lot. I'm not gonna lie, and I know the people who are listening definitely gonna learn a lot too. Okay, so last point on Turo, and then we'll move to Airbnb.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the most rewarding or the most impactful thing that you've learned or gained from working with Turo and doing Turo cars?
I say the most impactful thing, in relation to me or relation to my partnerships.
Either or.
Well, I'd say in relation to me, it's allowed me to put myself out there. And granted, I've done that before, but in different ways. Like when I did cycling, it wasn't an in-your-face, one-to-one kind of, persuade you to, like, it wasn't a one-to-one type of sale kind of thing. It was just like a mass, like, hey, come to our bike ride. You're already biking, like, come to our bike ride. Now it's a lot more personable in terms of, trying to get partnerships, trying to understand people's, like, pain points, why they're doing what they're doing. And it's legit like a own form of sales, except like you don't get compensated until the longer run, which is something I've never really done. Like everything has kind of been like in mass marketing per se, like even parties, like, you drop a couple flyers, come to our party. But now I feel like, now it's like pick up the phone, call this person or send like 200 DMs, and it's opened me to, like, I'd say I've unlocked another level of a skill, just incorporating sales now as a skill, and that has what's been most impactful to me, because once I learned that you genuinely have to care for what you're doing in order for it to work, and genuinely, like, I want my partners to be happy. I want our partners to be happy, and that makes sending 200 a day a lot easier, because there are people who are in real situations, the same way I might be in a real situation, and they're actively seeking help, and they're putting their trust in you to solve that problem. And as someone who enjoys solving people's problems, I do take passion in doing that. I think that's one of the reasons why I have such strong entrepreneur spirit. But I say like that's been most impactful for me. And then in terms of like my partnership, like my partnership with the people that I'm partnering with cars, meeting those type of people, and they range from, black, white, Asian, Spanish, or, 60 plus, 20 plus, 40 plus, just connecting with a wide range of people, and, getting their perspective on not only life, learning about their life experiences. Some people may be Swiss bankers, some people may be, teachers. And there's so much you could talk to them about outside of, the business transaction that you guys are doing, and so many lessons you could learn from them. So I always appreciate just expanding that network of mine. I think that's the most impactful for me, both in relation to the business and relation outside of business. And then working with Brianna, that has been like, that's been a learning experience from day one. I've never really worked with like my girlfriend ever. And, you know, I've learned how there could be a relationship dynamic and a business dynamic. And most people say like the two can't intertwine. But we're making it work, and we're making it work really well for us. And even though there's some days that, we may argue or we may disagree or butt heads, um, you know, because of the foundation of our relationship is with Christ, is with love. Like, we know that at the end of the day, we have our best interest in heart, and we just want to, do what's best for not only ourselves, but for each other and for what we're trying to build here. So, just learning the dynamic of working with your partner, being with them 24/7, eating together, sleeping together, working together. Um, like it's been a very impactful journey. Like, it's been a really impactful like past year and a half for me.
That's beautiful, bro. I'm happy for you. So I know I said my last tour question, but this is my last tour question. How do you make sure the cars don't get stolen? You got trackers in all the cars?
Every car is a tracker.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
Every car is a tracker.
Okay.
The only thing that we can't add that we wish we could is a kill switch. It's illegal in New York. But like, every car is trackered. Some cars have 2 trackers. But yeah, we've never had a problem where someone tries to steal our car. But like I said, TURO insures you up to $750,000.
Ooh, okay, so do Toro, everybody. Gangster.
So, like, cars total insured. The car is it's insured at market price, and if it's stolen, Turo compensates you for the days that it's been missing, so on and so forth. If you do get a car, plan on putting it in Turo, make sure you get gap insurance. That's like my last key point. If your car winds up getting totaled, they only compensate you for the car at market price. So if you have a 2018, obviously what you bought the car for isn't at the market price right now. So if you have that gap insurance covers that gap between the market price now and the rest of, if you're financing it, the rest of your loan. So that's another thing, if you're looking to get into it, to definitely look into.
Dope. All right, and let's talk Airbnb. How has the Airbnb process been going for you, and what advice do you got for people who are interested in getting into Airbnb?
With Airbnb, we've been fortunate enough to start from family properties. That's been a blessing for us, and it's given us the cushion to really expand. If you're looking to start an Airbnb but you do not have any like properties within your family, I would say just pitch your hosting services. I mean that's generally what we do. If you're looking to buy a property, then it'll be a lot more simpler. Well, not simpler in the sense of like, like the process of getting it on Airbnb, but it would be, I mean, not in simpler in the sense of, buying the house or whatever, but if you're buying your own property, then, that's less people that you have to deal with in terms of getting it up and running. Also, make sure you're looking into the local laws. Don't look at it by state, look at it by county. That's really key. That's really important, because some laws, I've seen a wide range of laws. Like, some laws you just have to pay taxes. Some laws you have to get a registration. Some laws you can't even. Some laws you could do, like Airbnb, no problem. I think taxes is the least on all levels. Some properties you have to own the property. Some properties you have to actively be living in the property. So just make sure you're aware of your local laws, and make sure you're in compliance with all of those things. Because if you don't do it, one, Airbnb may take your listing off, but two, you could definitely get fined for it, and we don't need anyone getting fined. So yeah, for if you're getting into Airbnb, make sure that you know your local laws, you know your market, and yeah, that's pretty much my advice.
So let's say someone had a multifamily, right?
Yeah.
And they wanted to do Airbnb. Could they do Can they do Airbnb with multiple units, or would it only be like one unit? And I think, let's say it's New York.
If it's in New York, so let's say there's ways around it. Um, it'll be a very like it would be a it would be a very difficult process. But there is ways around it. That's the best way I could say it. If you, let's say you have a sister or a brother, let's say you all grew up in that same household, per se, and it's like 3 units. You could get the bottom one, your sister could get the middle one, and your brother could get the top one. And act you could act as if those are your primary residence, and then that's how you could have 3 short-term rentals in the same building. If you mark all of those as, hey, I'm currently living here, I'm trying to rent out this space. Now, if it's just you, unfortunately, you would only be able to have 1 short-term, and the rest would be mid-term or long-term. But I will say this, do not sleep on the mid-term market. We do have a property, 6 or 8 bedrooms. We're selling them by the bedroom, and generally speaking, their occupancy rate is at 90 plus. So I don't know if it's a New York thing, but there's a lot of people who move around in New York. So some people may not want to commit to a long-term place. I don't know. People have a problem with committing nowadays, but but some people may want to stay someplace for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and if you're at the right price point, like there's someone who is more than willing to pay that for a certain amount of days. Like some people may fly in for nurses, for doctors, for students. Like they may be here for 4 or 5 months. Some people may come for a semester. Some people may be moving and they need a filler place to stay for like a month. There's so many reasons that we've learned over the years why people may, stay someplace for 1 to 2 months. And it's worked really well for us. And yeah, don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on it. So, but short term, obviously, short term, if you're in the right place, you could definitely make the most money from short term.
All right. You got any advice on finding the right person? Because you really acquired you really said that a lot of your success came from like being with the person that you're with. So any advice you'd like to give the people on how do you find the right person?
I'll give y'all. So before I met Brianna, I went on like I'm a solely focused on myself like vibe for like 6 months. It was the end of the summer. Yeah, ironically, I met her in the summer first. I met her in July. I was saying I spat my game. She was feeling me, but she was frying, and she gave me her number, but it didn't go nowhere. And so from that time on, literally from that time till February when I met her again, I was just like, I'm a lock in. I think that summer I was outside, but like I was broke outside, and I had just got a remote job at Verizon. So I was just like, yo, this is my chance to bounce back. So I locked in for the rest of the year, bounced back, and then I ran into Brianna again. And, it was a more intimate setting. like I knew I wanted her. I told her all the time, like, I chose you, you know. So when I seen her again, I knew I couldn't do the same approach that I did before. So I kind of switched up my game. It worked in my favor. Um, if you want to know, if you want to know about, you know, my skills and whatnot, like, don't worry, ebook coming out soon.
We gotta see we need the streets need the ebook. The risk.
Hey, I'm retired, so you know I train people now. But nah, I'm joking. But yeah, like, you know, you learn over time that your person is your person. You know, it's not like there was this, like, I mean, I knew I wanted her, so I can't really say this, but I had to learn over time, like, yo, Brianna, this is my person right here, you know, and, like, I have to be extremely intentional with her. And I think that's what was key for me, like, just being intentional with her over the next, like, couple months, being involved in what she was involved in. It also piqued my interest. Like, our first 5-hour convo on the phone was about real estate, you know. And that's when she had told me, like, hey, you know, she's venturing off into, you know, this. And so that started our common ground, and then we kind of just grew for the first, like, couple months. I was more so, you know, watching her do what she does, asking her questions, and you know, helping out when I can, where I can. And then when we acquired the property that I told you about that we rent by the room, that's when I became really involved, because the state that we got that apartment in is, like, nowhere compared to the state that it's in now. Like, when we got it, furniture was broken, walls were scratched. It wasn't in the best condition. But we started off with, like, if we were offered that property today, we'd probably be like, nah, it don't fit the portfolio. But it was our first, like, real, like, on our own project. And so I was very hands on the upgrades and you know, getting it in a rental condition. Bree focused a lot more on the details and design and the customer service, and, you know, now it's fully up and running. And those things that she was working on, it started off like what she may have lacked, I was really good at, and what I may have lacked, she was really good at. And then, you know, it was just a learning curve from that point on. So, yeah, now, you know, we're glued to the hip. And, you know, I say generally, like, our relationship is very healthy. A lot of communication helps us in the long run. Even when we argue, we communicate in such a healthy way that we get to, like, a lot of root problems. And then once you get to the root problem of things, like, after that, it's not a problem anymore. I'd say, like, yeah, Brianna, like, my mom loves Brianna, my family loves Brianna, my dad loves Brianna, and you know, I'd like to say vice versa. Her family loves me, and yeah, like, it's hard to explain, but, like, you know, we say all the time, like, hey, like, you're my person, you know. So
I'm happy for you, bro. You came a long way, man.
yeah, man.
I know you for a couple of years. I usually do this thing with the podcast where I'll kind of date, like, yo, you know, what was the first memory you had with me, or vice versa?
Yeah, the first memory I had with you was a pool party.
Which one?
The one.
The mansion?
The mansion. Remember? Nah, I don't think that was the first one. I think that was
In
the most
Buffalo,
memorable
right?
one.
Or
Nah. That wasn't the first one. The one I'm thinking of was the one in LI where it got shut down and you had to move it to the next venue.
that was the first.
That was the first. That was the most. That was peak knowing you.
Really?
Like, yeah, that was peak knowing you.
You didn't know me in Buffalo or nothing?
Nah, I knew you in Buff. Like, I went to your parties in Buff all the time.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, like, it's hard to believe, but Buffalo was like 8 years ago.
7 years ago, yeah.
It's like, yo, like, I feel like COVID really just stole some years from us. Like it's really insane. Like I feel like I lived a whole lifetime in between college and now.
I feel you.
But like yeah, I knew we was out there, partying. But I tell you this, fellas, when you focus on yourself, you attract. And uh, I'm starting to attract a lot of things that I want now. Um, so really, once you make yourself a priority, like a lot of things that you want will start coming your way.
I love that. I love that. How do you manage an Airbnb from out of state?
So there's three key things that you have to really have in order to manage it. Form of access, whether that's a key coded lock or a lockbox with a key in it. We prefer the key coded locks because you can't lose a key code, like push in number. Cleaners, someone who regularly comes and cleans when people check out and before people check in. And then a handyman, just to handle like any, on-site things that may happen. If you get packages, you need it to go inside, or like there's a leak or something needs to be screwed. Just having someone on standby that you trust to, fix problems on hand at the property, or if it's a bigger problem, let you know. If you have those three things, you could basically run anything from anywhere. It's sort of like having a business and having some employees. Having people do the job to maintain the space is nowhere different from having managers and people doing all the more complicated work for your business. So if you have those three things, you could run anything up to a multi-unit off of that. Anything bigger than that, you're gonna need a lot more people. Well, generally a lot more cleaners, but you can still have a general landlord, handyman around, and have as much automation as possible in terms of like the key coded doors and stuff, and everything could generally run itself after that.
Very dope. If people want to reach out to you, connect with you, ask questions, maybe even get some mentorship,
Yeah.
where can they go to do so?
So my Instagram is black_Ty, but it's black with a V instead of an A, so that's BLVCK _Ty. The name of my LLC is Black Market Agency. Again, it's BLVCK Market Agency, not BLACK. And then our website is the same, Black Market Agency, BLVCK. And yeah, you can shoot me an email. All my contact information is on there, on the website. You could shoot me a DM on any social media platform as well. I'm on all social media platforms. You could even reach out to me on Facebook if need be. It's just my regular name, Tyrell B. Taylor. And, I'm more than willing to help people. I feel like knowledge should be shared, shouldn't be kept. And, you never know who can help you. And as someone who got help from someone, it would be selfish of me to keep that all to myself. So I'm more than willing to help people, guide people, and assist people.
I love that. And Black Market Agency, what's that? What are we seeing for Black Market Agency in the future?
We're just seeing portfolio growth. We want to be able to, be a household portfolio, and really, stand out in urban or rentals, vacation rentals, as we do venture out to St. Lucia and St. Vincent. And really just, growing the portfolio Brianna and I are trying to build. Granted, we do operate under different LLCs, but we're under the same portfolio. And as we continue to grow that, we continue to help each other. And that's what's really important to grow, not only, personally, but business-wise. So, just becoming that household name, establishing our own brand, building our own tribe, and helping others do the same.
Very dope. Like I said, thank y'all so much for tuning in to Talk Ain't Cheap. Y'all know the slogan is not that deep. It's a vibe.